Hello, everyone, and welcome to the City of Atlanta's Department of Parks and Recreation Equity Data Tool tutorial. This video tutorial will guide your exploration and explain how to use the DPR EDT. Now, there are pretty specific instructions for selecting items on the map to ensure that everything works correctly, and that's why we wanted to create this video demonstration, to show you some of those nuances so you can have an easier time navigating the tool. We thank you so much for your engagement and interest in learning more about the DPR EDT. Now let's take a look at the tool in real time. So, welcome to DPR's Equity Data Tool. I am so excited to be sharing this with you today. And just to give you a warm welcome, you can see that this side panel here to the far left will open to welcome you to the Parks and Recreation Equity Data Tool and list some quick steps to get started. You can always close this sidebar by clicking on the arrow alongside it. When the tool first loads, this is the first map that will appear, the ATL Parks map. This map shows Atlanta's parks in shapes that are color-coded, either red, orange, yellow, or green. If you click on this legend icon here, which looks like a bulleted list on the top right of the map, you can see the range of total park need scores assigned to each color. The higher the score, the greater the need. Parks indicated in red are parks with the greatest need for investment and capital improvement. While we're here looking at the icons, let me walk you through them all, clockwise from the top left. This select icon here allows you to select your park on the map. You'll know it's on when you click it and it turns blue. It's also very important to unselect before making a new selection on the map. To unselect, you would just click the arrow button again so that it's no longer blue once you move your cursor away. However, there is another easier way to select a park or rec center directly on the map, and we will show you that in just a moment. As a side note, this drop-down of options next to the arrow shows other selection shapes that can be used. We recommend you stick to using point so that you can directly select the colored shapes on the map. This magnifying glass icon is the button to open a search bar to find an address or place. Here, you can type in and search for a park just like you would on Google Maps. It does search on a global level though, so there is some user discretion in searching and selecting your location. This home icon will zoom your view back out so you can see the entire extent of the city. This bulleted list icon is the legend that we mentioned earlier. This icon here that looks like stacked pages is for the map layers. And this allows you to see all of the layers used on the map, which are Atlanta parks, census tracts, and council districts. And you can always click on the eye icon to see and unsee the different layers of the map. This four corners icon is for changing the base maps, and you have a lot of options such as satellite, street, topographic, and many others based on your preference. These plus and minus icons are your standard zoom features. You will need to use these buttons fairly often as you zoom close enough in on the map to be able to directly select the park or recreation center that you want to view. And below the map, you'll see this banner, and that will let you know what map you are currently viewing. If you click on the arrows to the left and the right, you can toggle between all 6 maps available in the tool. You can also click directly on the title of the map in this banner to open the drop-down list that shows all of those 6 maps available for viewing. These maps include the ATL Park Need Map, ATL Recreation Center Need Map, Community Need Map, Level of Service Map, Health Map, and Community Perception Map. ATL Parks. Now to the left of the screen, you will see a gear dial showing the total park need score. The total park need score is the total of the 4 scoring categories listed to the right of the tool here: park conditions and funding, level of service, community need, and community perceptions. The gear dials to the right provide a bit more context with giving a scoring breakdown of this total park need score. When you first open the tool, it will automatically open with the scores for boulevard crossings shown. But what makes the tool interactive is the ability to click on a park or rec center on the map and see the gear dials change. As a reminder, green indicates low need, yellow indicates moderate low need, orange indicates moderate high need, and red indicates high need. So, based on the methodology used for the DPR EDT, we were able to determine the top 10 parks with the greatest need and top 5 recreation centers with the greatest need. You can find more information about this in the methodology report available at activate-atl.com. Let's click on the first park with the greatest need, shown at the top of this list here, North Camp Creek Parkway Nature Preserve. And for your reference, here is the button that you would use to scroll through the list of parks with the greatest need. Once you click on North Camp Creek Parkway Nature Preserve on the list, the map will zoom you into that site. And when you click on it, you will see a pop-up appear on the map showing the name of the park. Now, I'll show you the easiest way to select the park or rec center on the map, and that will cause all those gear dials to change. You can also see the scoring breakdown table by clicking on the name of the park that shows in the pop-up. So, do you see this icon in the top right of the pop-up that looks like a square with a plus sign in the corner? This will be your easiest way to select a park or rec center on the map. When we click this button to select, you can see the gear dials populate with the score for North Camp Creek Parkway Nature Preserve. Before making a new selection, you have to exit out of all current selections and reset your map extent. To do this, exit the pop-up window and click this X to exit out of any currently selected features and start from scratch with a new search. This will also reset your map extent. As we mentioned, Atlanta has a very extensive park system, so lots of parks are near each other. Make sure you zoom in to click on the right one. Now let's look at an iconic Atlanta park, Piedmont Park. As I mentioned, there is some user discretion in using the search bar since it operates on a Google Maps style level. If we use the search bar to search for Piedmont Park now, you will see that it doesn't appear quite readily. However, if you scroll through the options, you can see that Piedmont Park Tennis Center in Atlanta is shown. That should put us close. Once you've entered in the search bar and clicked on the location that you want to see, it will zoom you into that site on the map. If it doesn't zoom in for you, you can always use your zoom features to follow where this transparent circle is shown, because that will indicate where the site you are looking for is. So now that we're zoomed in and in the correct location, we can easily click on the exact shape that we want to see. So let's click on Piedmont Park on the map and then simply click the select icon, just like we did last time, and watch those gear dials change to green. This shows that Piedmont Park has less need as compared to other parks in Atlanta. Let's follow the same process in looking at our recreation centers. We'll exit out of our current search and we will reset the map extent. Now to the left and right of the screen under the dials, you will see that there are 2 tabs labeled Parks and Rec. In order to view the recreation center scores, you will need to switch the display on both sides so that the data that shows is based on whether you are selecting a park or rec center. So as I just did, to change the display, click on the tabs to select Rec. We also need to switch over to our ATL Rec Centers map. Again, you can either toggle through all the options by clicking on the arrows, or you can just click directly on the map title to open the list and select ATL Rec Centers. As a side note, you will only use the gear dials when you are looking at the total park need score or total rec need scores. The level of service, community need, health map, and community perception map just shows the unweighted data by census tract or maintenance district. So please note that these 4 maps will not show a total need score on the gear dials. Now that we have all our settings adjusted, we can start to view the scores for different recreation centers. You can scroll through the list of rec centers with the greatest need the same way that you did for the parks list. We can see here that Collier Recreation Center currently shows to have the greatest need for investment and capital improvement. Let's click on it within the list to zoom in closer to that site. As before, you will see the pop-up window appear. And now let's click on the same select icon, just like we did last time. So we can make the gear dials update, and the corresponding score breakdown table will update here as well. We can see that Collier Recreation Center is indicated in red, which means it shows the greatest need for improvements. Let's compare this site to some of the other recreation centers with a lower need score. We start by unselecting everything the same way that we did for parks, exiting out of the pop-up windows, any current selections, and using your home button to zoom back out. Now, recreation centers are denoted on the map with small squares that range in color from yellow to green to red. Again, red indicates the highest need for prioritization. And you can see the corresponding score ranges within the legend here. Let's zoom in on the map and select this recreation center to the north of the city that's marked in green. Peachtree Hills Recreation Center. As before, click on the pinpoint and then the select icon within the pop-up window. Sometimes you may not see the select icon quite readily, and instead you may see 3 ellipses, 3 dots that say open. If you click those dots, you will then see the select icon. So it is a little hidden away, but it is still there for you. So let's click the select icon, and you can see the gear dials change to now show that Peachtree Hills Recreation Center indicates less need for improvements as compared to other recreation centers that are marked in red. Now, there is always some room for some type of improvement, no matter the park or recreation facility. But the intent for the Parks and Recreation Equity Data Tool is to compare scores across all the categories to help guide discussion and understanding of need-based prioritization and equity. DPR understands that certain locations have a greater need for improvements than others, and this is supported by findings from the various data indicators used in the DPR EDT. We can see this by looking at the community need map. So let's exit out of our current selected features and go over to look at that map. Simply select the community need option within the banner on the drop-down list. As a reminder, the community need map shows the composite community need score for each census tract, representing 10 indicators made up of 24 different data points. Some of the indicators included in the community need score are concentration of vulnerable age groups, food environments, environmental health, vulnerable housing conditions, transportation environments, and other social determinants of health. You can also search using the map search option on this map if you're curious to see how a certain park fits in relation to the surrounding community need. Simply search for the park or location. We'll search for Piedmont Park again, as we did last time. And the map will show you where that site is with this transparent circle. Again, you can always open the legend by clicking on this icon here to see the range of the scoring system. And here you can see that greater community need is indicated with darker red colors. Let's zoom back out to look at the city as a whole. Immediately, you can see somewhat of a stark line that acts as an edge between North and South Atlanta to indicate a significant disparity in our community needs score. Unsurprisingly, this line follows the pattern of redlined areas, which refers to areas that were given the lowest rating for mortgage loans by the Homeowners Loan Corporation in 1938. This put many services out of reach for residents of certain neighborhoods during the Jim Crow era. This practice, commonly known as redlining, was a deliberate or intentional discriminatory practice that historically marginalized communities across the country based on their race or ethnicity. And the result of discriminatory practices can still be felt decades later. As the city has expanded geographically, redlined areas appear to have functioned as the edge between two socioeconomically divided areas. And you can see this same pattern continue throughout many layers of the health map as well. Let's switch over to the health map to isolate some of the data sets that follow similar trends. As a reminder, the gear dials will not change on the health map. However, what is particularly important on the health map is the layers option. The layers allows you to isolate different data sets to look at the individual sets of data. You will not need to look at the layers as much on the other maps since those work off of a composite score, but here for the health map, the individual layers will provide you with a lot of important health information at the census tract level. Let's start by isolating the obesity layer. It is very important that you only have one layer turned on at a time in the health map, again, so you can isolate each individual data set. And you can turn layers on and off by clicking the eye icon. Let's start by isolating the obesity layer. Immediately, you can see a very similar stark line across the city. And in fact, as we switch on and off the other health-related layers, you can see that this edge continues to be evident. Let's look at physical activity. So we will turn off the obesity layer and we will turn on the physical activity layer. You can immediately see that South Atlanta reports less physical activity than North Atlanta does. Now let's look at life expectancy. So we will turn off our physical activity layer and turn on our life expectancy layer. Now, when you search for and select an area, we can look a little bit more closer at the details of life expectancy. So let's search for Buckhead, Atlanta. When you click on the Buckhead area to the north of the city, you can see that life expectancy is nearly 85 years. Now let's search for a different area of Atlanta. Let's search for Bankhead, Atlanta. Immediately, you can see the colors change. And when you click on the census tract, you can see that life expectancy has dropped to just 64 years of age. And this brings us full circle back to our introduction. It is so shocking to realize that babies born just a few miles apart can have such vastly different life expectancies, more than 20 years difference in this case. Underpinning all these findings is a call to equitably improve and expand our recreation and parks system. The department is committed to understanding and helping to undo these historic patterns of injustice through a systemic approach. It is critical to acknowledge and address these disparities as we work to help make Atlanta a more equitable city. Now that the DPR EDT can help provide us with a data-driven understanding of where needs are the greatest, we can catalyze joint efforts between elected officials, department heads, friends groups, and others to help get more parks and recreation centers from red to green. Thank you so much for taking the time today to learn more about the City of Atlanta Parks and Recreation Equity Data Tool. If there are any other references or resources we could provide on the DPR EDT website, please let us know. We definitely want to make sure that the public has all the information they need to best understand the tool. We appreciate your support and collaboration as we work together to achieve a more equitable parks and recreation system for the city of Atlanta. Together, let's activate ATL.